Good afternoon. It's 1 p.m. here in Kenya's capital, Nairobi, and this is The Ambassador, where we debunk global diplomacy and geopolitics. Now to our first story. Political unrest is intensifying in Guinea-Bissau as opposition leaders pledge to halt the country operations over a controversial dispute regarding the expiration of President Umaro Embalo's term, where the opposition insists his mandate ends this week. The country's Supreme Court has ruled that it will conclude in September. The situation has intensified after Embalo announced a delay in both presidential and legislative elections until November 30th, sparking widespread concern over the country's political future. Let's take a listen.
Political tensions are rising in Guinea-Bissau as the opposition has pledged to bring the country to a halt. The protest stems from a dispute over the expiration date of President Umaro Sissoco Embalo's 5-year term. Opposition figures argue that Embalo's mandate ends this week, while the country's Supreme Court of Justice has ruled that his term actually concludes on September 4th. The situation escalated further when President Embalo announced that both presidential and legislative elections initially planned for this year will be postponed until November 30th. This decision has sparked concerns about the political stability of the country, which has a history of military coups and unrest. Additionally, the government has indefinitely postponed parliamentary elections, which were originally scheduled for November 2024, citing technical and financial challenges, further complicating the already tense political environment. Guinea-Bissau has faced ongoing political instability since gaining independence from Portugal in 1974. As President Embalo, a former army general, navigates these challenges, the situation remains uncertain, with protests and unrest possible in the coming days. Meanwhile, Russian President Putin held talks with Guinea-Bissau President Umaro Sissoco Embalo, focusing on strengthening economy and security ties between two nations. The discussions covered areas such as mineral resources, infrastructure, energy, agriculture, and fishing, with both leaders emphasizing the potential for deeper cooperation. Putin noted the 10% growth in trade between Russia and Africa in the past year and expressed hope that collaboration will continue to expand, with the Russian companies showing increased interest in the Guinean market.
Last year, trade turnover between Russia and the African continent continued to grow and increased by 10%. However, trade and economic relations between our countries certainly requires careful attention from both sides. And I very much hope that we will be able to agree that they will gain momentum. There's good groundwork and good opportunities here, and many of our companies are showing growing interest in working in your market.
Embalo, in return, reaffirmed the long-standing fraternal relationship between Russia and Guinea-Bissau, describing the two countries as partners.
Us and Russia, we're partners for sure. Today I find myself here to reaffirm this bond of friendship that we have between Russian people and the people of Guinea-Bissau. This is a fraternal relationship that has always existed.
His visit comes amid domestic political tensions in Guinea-Bissau, where opposition groups are challenging the end of date of his presidential term. Triza Chengo, GBS News.
Chaos erupted in the city of Goma and Nyiragongo territory on Tuesday after rumors circulated about forced recruitment by the M23 rebel movement. Panic-stricken parents flooded schools, fearing for their children's safety, while others fled the city. Despite strong denials from both school officials and M23 authorities, the panic continues to fuel growing fears among the local population. Let's take a listen.
Of panic spread throughout Goma and Nyiragongo territory as rumors of forced recruitment by the M23 rebel took place. Parents, fearing for their children's safety, rushed to schools to collect them, while others fled the city, uncertain of what to believe. School officials, along with M23 representatives, have strongly denied the allegations, calling them part of a disinformation campaign aimed at stirring up fear. M23 authorities in Goma called on the public to remain calm, insisting no recruitment was taking place in schools and that the movement has never engaged in forced recruitment in areas under its control. Local authorities have been urged to take immediate action to reassure residents, but the damage to public trust has already been done. As the conflict continues to unfold, the people of Goma and surrounding areas are left to navigate an environment of uncertainty and fear. The situation remains dire, and the need for calm and clear communication has never been more urgent. Reporting for GBS News, Irene Juguna.
Nigeria's National Commission for Museums and Monuments, NCMM, will lead efforts to retrieve and preserve the looted Benin bronze, while the approval of the Oba of Benin, while the 2023 decree affirmed the Oba's ownership. Nigeria's National Commission for Monuments and Museums will handle conservation and negotiations as talks with institutions like Cambridge University continue. Peris Kigo with more. Now, the ambassador will take a short break. We'll be right back with more.
Hello, kids. Did you know a year has 31,557,600 seconds? Why do you think so? Exactly. There are 60 seconds in a minute, 60 minutes in an hour, 24 hours in a day, and 365 days in a year. We count the extra 0.25 because of leap years. When you multiply all these numbers together, you get a huge number of seconds. That's why a year feels long, but time still flies when you are having fun.
What is always before you but can't be seen?
Kudiscover talent.
Kudiscover ulijuangaje like unaweza imba like yeah.
Kini Trace Jumi Kipchoge kwa ngoma na mfala wanani dis na wanabonga kwa ngoma mafan jo ananipenda ndo nazidi kwa roga wenye walenjaribu mazee walishachoka na nikozabe meditation naendelesha generation niliofanya kalki.
Wewe at 1 year old ulikuwa unafanya nini? You're feeling the vibe. Ulitoa a few days ago, unaweza taka utuambie like ulikuwa unafikiria nini when you came up with the lyrics? Yeah.
So I'm doing my thing. Don't try and stop me when I'm doing my thing. I'm tryna boss, let me do my thing. And if you're tryna win, you can be on my team. Yeah, so I'm doing my thing. Don't try and stop me when I'm doing my thing. I'm tryna boss, let me do my thing.
You feel like you're young at heart, I'm an old soul. If you could only listen to one singer or band for the rest of your life, who will you choose?
This is the
youth have the show that gets a groove on. We have so many topics lined up for you guys.
Can you survive without internet?
No, I can't. Siwezi survive bila internet mimi.
Hii ni kama kuambia mtu mwenye alikuwa amezoea kushinda na nguo, mwambie toa nguo ushinde.
Sister like Tito who believes in miracles, eh?
Don't you believe in miracles?
Don't you believe in miracles?
If you're in love, akili inafungika na macho. You won't see anything negative in the relationship.
So my films, I can get funding to get a lot of time to do pre-production, so that when I'm shooting, costume ulishapanga, kila watu wako wanajua navaje, shooting location, like that process ya kwenda ku secure location, kwenda ku video secure location, you get and like wow, hii location ikeza pata,
this is where it will all happen.
It makes you happy.
Kuwa na vitu mingi sana, mapanga le nini, kisasa hizo issues zimekuwa zinachocha sana. Tunataka kutuka hivyo tu bila hii mambo ya mneti.
Are you ready? So yes, the logo. Reveal.
Cadillac.
Cadillac. Unasema Cadillac.
Tunapenda watu we love communicating, we love welcoming people.
Internet ilikuja kututoa pangiza.
Everywhere, GBS.
Welcome to the Ambassador. We say this is where we debunk global diplomacy and geopolitics. Now, the United Nations has sounded the alarm over Sudan's escalating crisis, warning that famine is now a reality in several regions. Nearly 2 years of brutal conflict between the army and the paramilitary rapid support forces have devastated communities, turning parts of the country into a hellscape, according to the Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs. Let's take a listen from Paris Kigo.
The United Nations on Wednesday said the already catastrophic situation in Sudan has worsened since the last Security Council briefing just weeks ago, and that famine is now a reality in several parts of the country. The Officer for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs said nearly 2 years of conflict between the army and the paramilitary rapid support forces has inflicted immense suffering and turned parts of the country into a hellscape.
12 million people displaced, including 3.4 million people who have fled across Sudan's borders. More than half of the country, 24.6 million people, experiencing acute hunger. A collapse of health services, millions of traumatized children cut off from formal education, relentless patterns of sexual violence.
But despite widespread starvation and huge humanitarian needs, aid providers have suspended operation at the largest displacement camp, Zamzam, because of intense fighting. Wasanu said the World Food Programme has confirmed the suspension of voucher-based food assistance in the camp due to the security situation and the destruction of the market. She urged the Security Council to take immediate actions to ensure all actors abide by international humanitarian law and protect civilians in the camp and beyond. Meanwhile, the United Nations Human Rights Office has confirmed reports of summary executions in areas that have changed hands, raising alarms about war crimes. Without urgent international intervention, Sudan's deepening crisis will only lead to more suffering, starvation, and devastation. Paris Kigo, GBS News.
United Kingdom Prime Minister Keir Starmer traveled to Washington after announcing a significant increase in the British defense budget, aiming to secure continued United States support for Ukraine, and as President Donald Trump pushes to end the war. While Starmer highlights the enduring special relationship between the United Kingdom and the United States since World War II, his reception in Washington is uncertain. Trump has already disrupted decades of United States foreign policy during his early days in the office. Now, with the Trump administration selectively engaging Moscow on ending the war, Ukraine and its European allies are scrambling to respond. Starmer's visit to the White House on Thursday is part of broader European efforts following French President Emmanuel Macron's visit earlier in the week to ensure Ukraine has a seat on the negotiation table and to maintain United States backing for Ukraine in its efforts to counter Russia's aggression on its doorstep. Starmer also confirmed that he will host an international leaders summit in the United Kingdom on Sunday, focused on Ukraine, with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky expected to attend.
This week, we've shown our willingness to defend, with the biggest sustained increase in our defence spending since the Cold War.
I'm not going to make security guarantees beyond very much. We're going to have Europe do that.
We are living through a very, very significant moment for our alliance between our two countries, and indeed for all the freedom-loving democracies in the world. I wouldn't say that we are being encircled by our adversaries. We're certainly not, but they're doing a little bit of ganging up.
Funeral procession for the Bibas family was conducted. Dozens of Israelis mourned for the lives of Shiris Bibas and her two sons. The Bibas family were kidnapped on October 7, 2023 and held in captivity by Hamas. Forensic evidence released confirmed the family died on November 2023. The United States President Donald Trump shared a controversial AI video on social media showcasing Gaza as a beach resort. Meanwhile, in Lebanon, a new government has been elected by parliament. The new Prime Minister Nawaf Salam promised to reform Lebanon economic policies. Abdi Hamid Ali has more.
Dozens have gathered at a funeral procession mourning the 3 lives that were lost during the Israel-Hamas war. Israel was in a state of mourning following Hamas releasing the deceased bodies of Shiri Bibas and her 2 sons, 4-year-old Ariel Bibas and 9-month-old Kufr Bibas. Both Ariel and Kufr were the youngest children that were kidnapped by Hamas. Their bodies were returned last Friday as part of the ceasefire deal. In return, Palestinian prisoners were released from Israeli prisons. The patriarch of the family, Yarden Bibas, gave a eulogy which was broadcasted live on television. Dozens of civilians gathered in mourning, carrying Israeli flags. Some were carrying orange balloons to match the red hair of the Bibas family. Mediators from Egypt confirmed the release of the final 4 deceased hostages as part of the deal. Earlier today, their bodies were taken to the forensic clinic to investigate the cause of their death and confirming their identities. In exchange, more Palestinian prisoners were released as the final phase of the ceasefire will end on March 2nd before moving on to the second phase. US President Donald Trump shared a controversial AI video on social media showcasing Gaza as a destination beach resort. The video also has Elon Musk, Trump and Netanyahu can be seen sunbathing in a pool. The video did not contain any Palestinians. The video was criticized by the residents of Gaza.
While I was checking my mobile phone, I found that Trump, the President of the United States of America, published a video that he wants to rebuild Gaza after displacing its people. So we are asking him, why displace its people? Why doesn't he come and rebuild Gaza with its people in it? Its people can rebuild it. He can pay money, fix things, and free us from this occupation.
Meanwhile, Lebanese parliament has selected Nawaf Salam as the new Prime Minister of Lebanon. 95 members out of 128 selected Salam. The new prime minister stated he wanted a state that had full authority over decisions for war and peace.
We want a state that holds the exclusive authority over decisions on war and peace, a state loyal to the Constitution and National Accord, ensuring the implementation of unfulfilled provisions.
Salam promised that his new government will reform the economic crisis which plunged the country into bankruptcy and chaos. He vowed to start negotiation with the International Monetary Fund. The new government seemed to have distanced itself from Hezbollah compared to its predecessor, whom legitimized Hezbollah as a military unit defending Lebanon. Wadah Sadek, an independent MP, had this to say.
Alone inside Lebanon. They have a problem with the rest of the Lebanese community, they have a problem of the surrounding, and they have a problem with all the Arabs. So they must be convinced that there's no way for them to protect their people, to protect their community, just to be integrated within the new Lebanon, the new with the government, and to give the trust to this government.
As the first phase of the ceasefire agreement ends on Saturday, the question remains, will Hamas and Israel continue with the ceasefire agreement without bringing up any reason to sabotage it? Will Lebanon's new government reform the country's economic policy? How will the new government handle Hezbollah and any disagreements with Israel? Only time will tell. This is Abdihamid Ali, GBS News.
Amazon has officially launched Alexa Plus, a next-generation artificial intelligence version of its popular voice assistant. This major upgrade integrates generative artificial intelligence to make Alexa more conversational and personalized. Alexa Plus uses various artificial intelligence models, including Amazon's Nova and Anthropic's, to provide more natural interactions and handle complex tasks. It can track user preferences and habits, offering tailored recommendations and assistance. Alexa Plus can perform tasks like booking reservations, managing smart home devices, and analyzing documents. Available in late March, priced at $19.99 per month, but free for Amazon Prime members. This launch positions Amazon competitively against other artificial intelligence-driven assistants like Google's Gemini and Apple's Siri, as the tech landscape continues to evolve with artificial intelligence advancement.
She's been trained in a couple of different ways, from EQ to humor to understanding. So what that means is she checks my tone. She brings a nice tone back. She understands I'm a little bit nervous. She's trying to calm me. It's kind of a great conversation. Also recognizes the environment around us.
You know, how are you actually using this new generative AI revolution to make Alexa meaningfully better? And so our team has been working on this for several months. I've had a chance to use it for the last several weeks. It is really remarkable in my opinion.
In a bid to revitalize Europe's struggling industrial sector, the European Commission has announced a new proposal making 100 billion euros available to support clean manufacturing, cut red tape, and reduce energy costs. This plan aims to boost Europe's competitiveness in the face of high energy prices, global competition, and complex regulations.
The Commission has unveiled a proposal to allocate 100 billion euros to support EU-made clean manufacturing, streamline public procurement, and simplify state aid rules. This initiative, called the Clean Industrial Deal, aims to assist energy-intensive industries facing high energy costs, unfair global competition, and complex regulations, while promoting the green technology sector. In addition to the Clean Industrial Deal, the Commission plans to reduce the burden of corporate sustainability reporting, which businesses have criticized as time-consuming and costly. A 25% reduction in reporting obligations by 2025 could save European companies up to 40 billion billion euros. The Commission is also introducing the Affordable Energy Action Plan to lower energy costs by addressing issues such as Europe's dependence on imported fossil fuels and the fragment energy grid. This plan includes measures to increase the EU's bargaining power in securing cheaper energy supplies. As part of a broader effort to boost European industry, the Commission aims to exempt most companies from its proposed carbon border tariff if they produce only a small portion of emissions. These reforms, combined with the Clean Industrial Deal, seeks to improve Europe's industrial competitiveness, especially against rivals in China and the US, and support the continent's transition to a more sustainable economy. Triza Tiengo, GBS News.
The Canadian Liberals held a debate vying for the candidacy to replace Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. The four candidates, who share a left-leaning policy, agreed that United States President Donald Trump and Canadian Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre are a threat to Canada. Polls have shown that both the Liberals and Conservative Party are in a deadlock. Here is more on the scene.
The Canadian Liberals are staging for a major comeback after their leader Justin Trudeau resigned from his office. The Liberals vying for the leadership includes Karina Gould, former Bank of Canada Governor Mark Carney, former Liberal MP Frank Baylis, and former Deputy Minister Chrystia Freeland. Recent pollings reveals that the Liberals are now neck and neck with their rivals, the Conservatives, due to the growing tensions with the United States over tariff threats, and Trump suggesting Canada to be annexed as the 51st state.
We will never, ever be part of the United States in any way, shape, or form. We have to recognize that the Donald Trump of today is different than the Donald Trump of several years ago.
The former Deputy Minister and Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland also criticized Trump and said Trump is a major threat to Canada.
If I am Prime Minister, I will not flinch. We will retaliate. If you hit us, we will hit back.
According to the 3 new surveys released, the Liberals have seen a significant surge in support with just a few weeks left before the leadership race concludes. The results suggest a tightly contested election ahead. The Liberals have closed a 26-point gap in just 6 weeks, now holding 38% of public support, just ahead of the Conservative Party with that 6%. Whichever party emerges victorious will need to navigate these uncertain waters with skill, balancing domestic needs with global pressures. The public reaction to the leadership changes and the implication on the national stage could ultimately reshape Canada's political landscape for years to come. This is Abdihamid Ali, GBS News.
And that's all for today with me, your Ambassador Paul Mathenge, on the Ambassador 1 p.m. Follow all of our stories at GBS TV Africa. It's updated through the day. We meet tomorrow as we debunk global diplomacy and geopolitics. Thank you for your time and company.
Everywhere, GBS.